Fight Capital, where we step into the ring of combat sports business. I'm your host, Ryan Rappaport. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Connor Matthews, an Air Force Combat Controller Special Forces operator whose grit and skrill have vaulted him into the UFC spotlight. His story weaves from distinguished military service to mixed martial arts mastery on this past season of Dana White's Contender Series, and Connor is here to share his unique journey and insights. Thanks for being here today, Connor. How are you and where are you joining from today?
I'm doing great, man. Joining you from my home, mom's basement MMA. So it's my house right here. Got my gym, and so I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Good. I'm sure you had a late night like me watching the fights. I saw you guys, some of your streams from last night. Looks like it was keeping you
Yeah,
busy.
I hate the main event comes out at 1 o'clock in the morning. So definitely had a late night last night. I don't even know what time those fights ended at 1 or 2 o'clock.
Two,
And
yeah.
then I had did some rolling here in the morning. So yeah, but man, it was a good night of fights for sure.
I'd love just you tell me a little bit about your journey, and can you just describe a little bit about the emotions that you got once you confirmed your contract with Dana White, and especially with this journey you've had?
Oh yeah, man, overwhelming. Honestly, it's nice to see something that you really put your life in hard into. You know what I mean? Actually come into fruition, and it took 4 years of since I got out of out of the military to like pursuing this and trying to make it to the UFC. Lots of ups and downs and like things. Did I make the wrong decision, mistakes, and finally like. It took me 3 times of fighting in front of Dana to get that contract, so I didn't really take the easy way into the UFC. And I'm just happy I got it. And now I'm ready to get here and keep that contract. So now my eyes are facing forward, and I got a lot of work to do.
Well, taking it back a step, talking about your time as a combat controller, how do you think that experience has kind of shaped where you're at right now in your mixed martial arts journey?
I think it's there's nothing that you can simulate. I don't think to train your mind for mental toughness and learn just lessons about life. Like fighting, you can learn it through fighting, but this kind of was a different way for me to learn a different kind of mentality. I was challenged in all different assets of my life. The physical part, obviously, they put us in the pool and they're drowning us for dive school, basically. Not drowning. We have to learn water confidence and train to a certain level. Jumping out of planes, all the combat type of training, and just a lot of stuff. So I piled that up, and I got through it, and now I take all that mentality I learned from all that and I apply it to something I actually love, and it's really awesome. It's easier for me to actually kind of work hard to being a professional fighter than it was being a combat controller.
Which is crazy to think. I mean, people don't necessarily understand like how intertwined you guys are with the tip of the spear of special forces. But I know since you've left, I've heard a little bit about you talking about the therapeutic benefits that you get from your martial arts training, especially after your deployments. How do you balance MMA's mental and physical demands with those therapeutic aspects that you get from them?
So I feel like for me, it's like it's always martial arts has always been an outlet my entire life, right? Anytime I struggle with anything, I just use martial arts to help me cope with and that mechanism. Now I'm just lucky enough to have it to be my job. So it's like for me, it's more about trying to spread that to any other veterans or guys who kind of want to use martial arts to help them out and get them through any tough. It doesn't have to be veterans. It can be literally anybody. I feel like it's just such a good tool for everybody to use to cope with anything else going on outside in their life. It's a place where you can kind of get away and focus on learning a skill, and that can help you on the outside, whether it be confidence or just getting a workout or a community. So I just really think it's a crucial part of my life. So I try to share as much as I can with other people.
And I know you have a long history with martial arts. You started with Kempo, Taekwondo, Jiu-Jitsu. I mean, that history is, quite impressive. Not everyone actually has a traditional martial arts backgrounds. Have those varied disciplines contributed to your fighting style today, you think?
Yeah, I think mentality wise too. Like I think that I grew up in a gym called Lakeville MMA, and it was actually originally a Taekwondo school. So actually before that I did Kempo. I grew up doing Kempo, and I used to compete, go all around, competing all over the place. And then when I was in high school, I walked into Lakeville MMA, and it was more of like a Taekwondo school that just brought on the MMA to it. So we were doing literally Taekwondo kicks with Jiu-Jitsu, and we're mixing it up, and I feel like my sensei there really he just knew how to build really good character and apply that to MMA fighters. So it's just like there's we all have a like that. People from that gym always had the same kind of character traits, and you'll see it with guys like Jack Condon, who's a local MMA fighter up here, Miguel Sevences. We all have like this Lakeville MMA mentality that I learned. I know where it came from. It came from my sensei, and I try to incorporate that into what we have going on now in MMA. MMA's totally changed the whole culture of martial arts in general. You know what I mean? People like kind of scoff and laugh at the traditional martial arts, which I mean, technically wise, yeah, I can understand that. As a professional MMA fighter, I see a lot of stupid stuff, but there's a lot of good things that don't get passed along. They left it like just discipline and self control and all that good stuff. So I try to and just mentality, looking at stuff, not quitting. You know what I mean? I feel like everybody kind of goes to MMA. They're on their own. Nobody's like talking that aspect, and that's most of the fight is all mental. It really is. Anybody, you can be the best athlete, the best striker in the world, but if you don't have what it takes to deliver on fight night when it really matters because your mentality is weak and you're scared or whatever it is, doesn't really matter, does it? So that's what I think it's really important to have, that incorporated into your training.
Yeah, hey man, I practiced Taekwondo, competed nationally growing up as well, and I can actually kick now. And while yeah, most people, you see them walk into an MMA gym, they can't even throw a kick. So there's
Yeah.
definitely something there. But I've heard you talk about when you changed gyms and started joining New England Cartel and Tyson Chartier's team, who we had on last week. I know you saw that.
Yep.
How important has been finding the right team to be part of been for you?
It's another whole skill, I think, to the sport. I mean, I've seen a lot of guys, who kind of bounce around from gym to gym because they just can't find a spot, because of personality wise of where they need to be. So it takes almost like a certain kind of person to find the right people to match and fit you. It's hard to build a good camp around you because everybody has jobs, everybody has other fighters and stuff. So it's really hard to build that. But I've been super lucky getting matched up with Tyson Chartier. I think he's such a good coach. I think he really, really wants the athletes, the fighters, to do as best as they possibly can. And he leads a good practice. He's very consistent. I've seen a lot of coaches out there that they don't show up for their practices. So you never have to worry about something like that with Tyson. And he's definitely developing something really good. I'm really excited to see what New England's going to be producing in like a couple of years after what we got going right now. There's a ton of amateurs. And never mind, we have Calvin Robnick and Chris Matinho and Tom Pags, all those people coming up. But we have a whole load of other amateurs coming up underneath us too that are going to be really good.
Yeah, no, Tyson spoke really highly of you when he was on, and I've actually seen some of the stock you guys have. I was at a Combat FC5
Oh, nice.
this past was that November? Yeah, and so I've seen the development there, and just when I think back to your recent victory at Dana White Contender Series, that was your second run at it, and
Yes.
the night and day really in terms of how you executed. Were there any specific strategies or preparation that played a role in securing that contract?
Yeah, I think it's the coaching. Really, what it came down to is my decision making. When I was, before I was kind of fighting, I didn't really have somebody telling me that part of the game of how to win an MMA fight. I was kind of just building skills individually all over. So I'd go to like do kickboxing rounds with kickboxers, and I go to jujitsu class and roll with jujitsu guys. And I was, and I would train a little bit trying to put together, but not really it wasn't really the meat potatoes of my training. And training with Tyson, he knows that part of the game. He really knows what parts we should focus on to win MMA fights, which is totally different than winning a jiu-jitsu match or a kickboxing fight. And so he kind of helped me, coach me, opened up that whole portion of the training and led me to a victory. Really, when it came down to it. Never mind the training bodies that I got, training with the guys at another level. Like if you're training at local gyms, you might get a good guy to come in every once in a while and you can get that work with. But like, when I'm training with the cartel, I feel like every single time I have anybody on me, it's either a high level amateur or a top level professional. So it's like when you're doing that for every single round of the day, I mean, eventually you just either got to conform to that level or you get destroyed. I'm very grateful that I was able to get exposed to that, and it got me the win for sure.
Yeah, well, there are definitely some studs there. You drop some names like Mitch and
Oh,
Rob, and
Mitch.
of
Oh,
course all
yeah.
those guys. Yeah. So hey, you're coming up into the UFC now. What are some of the goals that you kind of see for yourself within the sport and with the organization?
Yeah, I mean, I want to make it to the top 10, be the champ, obviously, right? That's the goal. But you got to look at these things as one fight at a time. And I want to get to this. There's this first fight contract, and I want to get 3 wins. That's my goal. It's one fight at a time. But after I do that, I can really secure myself. Within the UFC, and then I want to climb the ladder, man. I want to be there for a while. I really take inspiration from guys like Jim Miller that just fought last. He's fighting doing his passion. He's 40 something years old, and he's still performing and doing great. I know I'm a little bit older getting here, but I think it's actually a good thing because it preserving my body a lot. That I didn't take that damage from my 20s to my 30s. And I think as a martial artist, you just get smarter, you get stronger, you get mature, you get stronger. Obviously, there's a fall off portion, but I really, I plan to be here for at least the next 6, 7, hopefully more than that. You know what I mean? And do some damage in the UFC.
I know you got a lot of local love there. Dana, when you were coming in, he said, "I don't know if I'll be able to go back to the streets of Boston if I don't bring this guy on." Not that you didn't perform, but yeah, man, I know it's amazing. I know you also got a lot of great sponsors out there. Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah. So right now, shout out to Operation Vet Now. They've always been a huge supporter of me. I've been with them for 3 to 4 years. It's a veteran organization that they really try to help guys, anybody struggling with PTSD. They try to foster and help people, bring them to the right people to get help. And on top of that, they sponsor other athletes, to spread their message. And they've been a great organization that I've been working for 4 years now. Since literally, I think right after my first professional MMA fight, I've been with them. First, their foundation is another combat control foundation that they've been sponsoring me leading up to my not this fight but my last fight as well, and they've been a huge help. So yeah, shout out to those guys. And I've had so much support going over the years. You got me to where you need. It's one of those things like being a fighter. Like it's a grind. You gotta hustle. You gotta find. I've been lucky enough that the veteran community have just kind of pitched in and helped me out.
Well, and if there's anyone else, feel free just to send me over their stuff, and I'll tag them in there and make sure that they know that they got a great guy that they're getting behind. Finally, how do you envision using your platform as a UFC fighter to continue advocating for mental health and supporting veterans and first responders?
So yeah, I mean that's what I plan to do. Hopefully, someday I can have a gym and a facility that we can, try to help as many veterans as possible, open up the doors, and do anything I can to help them. Tell my story, get that story out there, um, and I feel like that I could really touch a lot of guys out there to try to help them out, get them out of that dark space. We have a lot of stuff, crazy stuff going on in the world, and that's what I try to focus on is just trying to help other people that had similar situations to me. I think right now I just got to go and fight some people and keep proving to the world who I am. You know what I mean? Representing my community and show people, who I am, and then we can start building something off that.
That's beautiful, man. Well, hey, thanks so much for doing this. I know you got some good
My
stuff coming
pleasure.
up in the very near future, and I can't wait to see you dominating out there.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it.